Tubers, two bits, crazy people. I've never had a big love affair with Cebu. However, that's not Cebu's fault, it's mine. The 3 or 4 times that I've been there in the past, just meltdown, malfunction, discombobulation. I couldn't wait to just get home to Dumaguete. And I left there with a bad taste in my mouth. However, the last time I went was a lot smoother. And the coup de grace is that I met a gentleman by the name of Chris, who's been living there for almost a year. And he kind of enlightened me as to some of the benefits that Cebu offers, especially for someone new and just getting into the country. He's also giving me the reasons why he's leaving Cebu, but I don't want to give it away here. Here's Chris in his own words. Okay, so as promised, I am here with Chris. Chris, welcome to the little show.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. So you've been in country 10 months. You landed in Cebu.
Right.
Give me your rendition, because it's very interesting. I think it's very useful. Why do you think Cebu makes such a soft landing for a new guy?
Yeah, I mean, so there's a couple neighborhoods, right? Cebu Business Park was where I lived for almost a year. You know, you just have so much accessible by foot. You don't have to get a vehicle. You got cabs and grabs, and you know, you walk across the street to the Ayala Mall. There's, you know, restaurants that you can go to, Chili's, and just this whole familiar kind of experience that you can have, which honestly, as a guy, you know, if you're coming to live here, it's really helpful to have that right early on.
Right. So a lot of guys will show up here, and there's that culture shock, that initial culture shock.
Yeah.
And there's that deer in the headlights that we all have when we get off the bus or the plane or however we got here. And landing in Cebu is got its good points and its bad points.
Sure.
So the good points, which I'm hearing from you, is that when you landed, you got a Airbnb for 30 days. So you were cemented in. You were close to Ayala Mall.
Right.
And Ayala Mall offered you a lot of the amenities that you were used to back home.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you had familiar places like Thank God It's Fridays and
That's right.
The other places.
Yeah.
There were a lot of foreigners there.
Yes, exactly.
There was a lot of conveniences, modern stuff, and you didn't have to navigate the traffic.
Right.
So you have Grab out there, and you have taxis.
Yep.
So again, you come out to Dumaguete, that isn't going to happen. There's very little Airbnb out here.
That's right.
And what there is available is questionable.
That's right.
There are no Grab taxis. There are no taxis, period. It's trike, it's tricycle, it's jeepneys and buses.
Yeah, not quite as dramatic as landing in the middle of a rice field, but a big difference between Cebu and Dumaguete as far as that first-time foreigner.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so when you got here, how long did it take for you to kind of get acclimated? What was your first initial impression of the Philippines and Cebu?
Right. So I would say there's a couple different levels of acclimation that I went through. One of them is just the time zone change, right? And that probably took, you know, close to a week to be fully adjusted to the, you know, not getting up at 2 in the morning kind of deal. So that took a little bit of time, let's say a week to do that. But then really within a month or two, once I got in my apartment and got settled, I figured out where to get my water, where are my groceries, all that kind of stuff. So that probably took maybe a month or two to get really fully adjusted to Cebu City and the life there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is there to do on a daily basis in Cebu?
Well, you really have a lot of options, I feel. You know, if you're in the business park there, you walk across the street to Ayala, you know, there's all kinds of eateries, there's restaurants and different shops. There's a movie theater on the top floor you can go to. So just kind of wander around there. You can also hop in a cab and you can go down to Cologne Street and wander around some of the old neighborhoods there. You go to, I believe it's called the Barracks, some really good eateries there and some restaurants. I did El Corso is another area that you can get out to, or just this really booming area of Cebu City. So I feel there's really a lot to do in Cebu. Yeah, a lot to get out and see.
But there's a lot of familiar stuff in Cebu.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so now you've made a transition, not transition really, but you've made a visit now to Dumaguete.
Sure.
Give me a little comparison. What do you find in Dumaguete that's lacking in Cebu or vice versa?
You know, I feel, so right away I noticed the dating is right there. Now I'm in a relationship, right? But I can see right off the bat that your dating options, I feel, are going to be limited. You're just...
Here in Dumaguete.
Yes, sir. I feel like there's just when I was out in the Valencia market, in Cebu there would be, I feel like there'd be a lot more options there as you're just kind of looking around. So that kind of stands out. A little bit lack of restaurants and eater options. So that would be there. But on the benefit I see here, I mean, just even the setting that we're at right now, this would be hard to find, I feel, in Cebu. That connection to nature, that being outside and that kind of thing, I really love about this area here. So, yeah.
I want to fire a warning shot about going back to the women difference, female difference. What kind of women can you meet in Cebu?
Well, it just kind of depends.
At the Isle of Mall.
Right? And sometimes, as Mike pointed out, you got to check their bone structure, So,
yeah.
So it just depends. And I think it's your advice you'd said, years back. You want to be careful of women who approach you, and really not all of them, but, Filipinos in general, I'm discovering, are pretty shy, and then it's people who approach you, that might not be the best of options. So yeah, Cebu, not all, but you have to be mindful of that kind of situation, in particular the malls and stuff like that. Yeah.
I found the destruction or the demise of many an expat has been a female.
Yeah.
And it's either one that they met online before they got here and she met him at the airport and then it went downhill from there, or it went uphill. I'm not always negative about it.
Yep.
But they run into somebody at Ayala Mall, and it's not her first rodeo.
That's right.
But you don't know that.
That's right.
Because you're coming into it again just naked and blind and uneducated and hopeful, and you're off of your balance. You're off your game a little bit when you first get here. So what do you think a guy should do the first 30 days, be it in Cebu or Dumaguete or anywhere else? What's your recommendation?
And this is coming right from your playbook, honestly. It's just don't worry about that side of it as far as relationships. You just get here, focus on getting yourself set up, figure out where you get your groceries, get your water. That'll come, guys. We're in a country where even in Dumaguete, there are options for us. It's much better than what we've experienced in the West. There are women who want to date us and be with us no matter where we're at, age-wise and that kind of deal. So just take your time, be patient in that area would be kind of my top suggestion.
I think it's sort of sage advice too. If you realize your vulnerability when you first show up in a new country, anywhere.
Yep.
You're not familiar with the language, you're a little dependent upon the local population. So now if you enter into something with one of these women that come up and already know how to speak English, and like I said, it's not their first rodeo, but maybe you can't pick up on that.
That's right.
You're very vulnerable, and maybe you've been alone, or maybe you got out of a bad relationship, or a scary divorce, or whatever the case might be. Or she's just the prettiest thing you've ever seen in your life, and you're a little starstruck by it. You're setting yourself up, in my humble opinion, to really possibly get taken to the cleaners, or not. Depends on the woman.
But also shorten yourself too, I feel, Paul, in that your experience of learning. When you have that Filipino with you, she's going to take care of a lot of that, and it can be a crutch. Versus by yourself, you're going to be, in it and learning for yourself a lot of it.
Thank you for that. I talked to a number of guys that question me or email me or write me or I meet in person, whatever it might be, and they're just kind of needy. And they don't have that adventuresome spirit that it's just another day, man. It's another 24 hours. As long as I got a roof over my head and food in my stomach, nothing worked well today. But there's always tomorrow. And you're not going to fix everything or solve it within the first month or 2 months or 6 months. It just depends on the person and how well they acclimate. What's your backstory? What was going on in America? Now you're like the 10th guy that's told me that there's just this weird division in America. And I've been gone so long that I'm finding a hard time to feed off of that because it seems so much so fast.
Paul, I think it's a different country from when you were there last, and I feel also too it's a different country since the pandemic. I call it a hate culture in the United States. I feel like you've got there's this gender hates this gender, this race hates this race, this political party hates this political party. There's just all this hate and tension that's there, and it's just I didn't fit. So that's kind of when I was involved in an accident and just kind of woke up from that and realized there's got to be a better option. There really is. And I just started looking around and found the Philippines kind of through that.
And you're in your early 50s, right?
Yeah, I'm 52. I'll be 53 in a couple weeks. So, it just was time. And I was set up for a good retirement in the United States. I've been saving. I've been maxing out my 401k for probably the past 2 decades almost. So I've been a saver, and then, you know, I had a home and sold my home and divorced and kind of stuff. And so, you know, I had some cash and stuff that I could bring with me here. So yeah, so it worked out well, and I just decided, boom, it's time to do it. And you know, the cost of living here, guys, is, you know, nothing compared to what we're used to in the States. So it's doable here on less, right?
What's a realistic number for somebody living in Cebu?
Yeah, I think somewhere between, you know, 2,000 and 3,000 is a good number. I think more towards 3 if you're going to be in like the business parks and IT park. I mean, you could probably do it on less, but again, it goes to what kind of lifestyle do you have? Do you want to be broke here? No, not really. You know, so yeah, I would say between 2,000 and 3,000 US is good. It's good.
And that'll cover your rent.
Yeah.
That'll cover your internet. That'll cover your electricity,
health
food,
insurance,
health insurance,
the whole deal.
the whole deal, the whole enchilada.
Yeah.
And how much? Now you're in a relationship now. What did that change when you were single and when you were in a relationship?
Right.
What was the effect on the budget?
Yeah, so the budget went up significantly from that, and a lot of that's just my own lifestyle. I eat out a lot, so when it's by yourself, and then when you add somebody else, you know, the price doubles, right?
Sure.
So yeah, it added a lot. I think I was in the low 2000s, and then now I'm, you know, close to 3, if not over 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, how did you meet your significant other?
We actually met online, and we had been online and been chatting, and we're just kind of friends online. And she
Was that
came
after you got here? I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
We,
Was
no,
that
you're
before
fine.
you came out? Or?
Before we came up, we actually kind of chatted online, but it was more of a online chat group kind of deal. So we're part of this community, and she came out to Sinalogue, and we had met then, but we weren't there to meet each other. We were just, you know, part of a group. She was dating another guy, and then I reached out to her and just said, look, it's been 6 months. I'm still single. If you're single now, you should come out and hang out for a week. And the rest is history.
Well,
yeah, she's from Leyte, so yeah.
That I consider an online success.
Yeah,
Because,
yeah.
like we were talking about before, she didn't meet you at the airport.
Right,
I
exactly.
think that's a major
Agree.
flaw
Agree.
In a lot of guys' plans.
Right.
I've been wrong before. Some of them work. It's not an absolute.
Yep.
But this whole thing of where you're talking to someone online, you get off the plane, she's there to greet you.
Right.
You kind of lose that opportunity just
Agree.
to see things on your own. Doesn't mean you're going to run around and be with a bunch of women.
Right.
It just means that you get to put your own feet down without being supervised or led by the nose.
That's right.
The direction that she wants you to go.
That's right.
And it's kind of fun, I thought, to kind of flail away at it and fail.
Yep.
And go out and figure it out. It's
how we
kind of an
learn.
accomplishment. You know, it's you can say, hey, I got that handle. After 3 days, I finally got a friggin' phone number. You know?
That's right.
And so, what's the expat community like in Cebu?
Yeah, you know, especially looking at here in Duma, there's a lot more expats in Cebu City, and in the business park and in IT park. But yeah, everyone I've met so far has been really friendly, and yeah, I've kind of strayed away from some of the bigger parts of it, like the social and things like that, where a lot of the expats will hang out. Nothing wrong with that. It's just that, but they're there. So yeah, there's quite a few and great guys, similar stories. A lot of younger guys I'm seeing too.
I'm seeing that more and more.
Right, a lot of guys my age and that kind of deal. So yeah, everyone's been awesome.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what do you think about being in a place with a lot of expats? Do you think that that's like a good thing? Do you think it's a bad thing, or do you not have? Are you neutral on that?
Well, so I think for the first couple months, I almost would say it's a necessity.
Okay.
You know,
good point.
I really do. I think that initial trip when you're coming over, bouncing ideas off of other guys. Hey, this is what I discovered. That is so key for guys when you first get here. But after that, I feel like, you know, a lot of us move to kind of explore the Philippines, right? Not so much West Part 2. And so I think getting away from that too, I think is also just as important to allow you to kind of experience the Philippines. So kind of both, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I agree completely.
Yeah.
Do you think that the guys that are hesitant to pull the trigger, I've encountered a number of those lately.
Right.
They say, you know what, Paul, I got to the point and I just couldn't do it,
Right.
or whatever.
Right.
What would you say to these guys to maybe belay their fears a little bit?
Well, I think for anyone, right, do a scouting trip, do multiple scouting trips. I've met some guys who've been on exactly that. Hey, this is my second time out here. I'm just checking it out, you know, and, you know, just come out, check it out. Stay at least 2 weeks, I would say would be the minimum. You know, it takes you a week to really adjust. So come out for a couple weeks and check it out would be my advice. And then what I did during that scouting trip that I did almost a year ago, I woke up and every day I asked myself this question: could I live here? Is this a place that I could
There you
live?
go.
And then it's always there in your head. And you know, granted, you're a little bit vacation mode when you're doing this, but ask yourself that question, right?
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about your day-to-day needs or living? What do you do you ever get bored? Do you ever find yourself like in a rut?
Right. No, I don't get bored, mainly because of my hobbies. I'm busy, man.
You're a busy
I'm
motorcycle guy too.
I'm busy doing stuff. I'm almost busier now than I was in the States, which is great. I'm a busy guy naturally. So yeah, I don't, boredom isn't an issue for me. Yeah,
'Cause
not at all.
You did IT for like 20 years, right? For
Uh,
lawyers?
Yeah,
For
IT guy
law
for a
firm?
large law firm.
Awesome.
Loved that work. It was phenomenal. I really got a lot out of it, and that's kind of been my hobby. And now I mess with photography and videography and that kind of stuff. So I'm enjoying my time out here. Really am. I love it. My best years, really are.
I always said I wish I could have come out here younger, earlier.
Yeah.
But I didn't have the cash flow at that time.
Right.
I did not manage my finances as well as you did.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a warning shot for any of the younger guys watching, might be in their 30s or their 40s,
Yeah.
although that's not my key demographic. But if you're watching this, start putting the money away.
Absolutely.
401ks, Roth
Absolutely.
IRAs,
Yeah,
all
man.
that kind of good stuff.
Yeah.
Live small, minimalize. And then
Yep.
I came out here to be a minimalist, but I actually maximized everything.
Right.
So cut back, live on more, but I've expanded so many new horizons out
Yeah.
here as far as friendship and travel and love life and experiences. It's just, you find that those material objects have so little meaning, and that the experience is really where it's
Absolutely.
at.
Yep.
Yeah. All right, so you have a YouTube channel.
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, no, it's been great. I started not right away. I moved here in December, but started up late February once I got myself established. And really, I've been an IT guy for forever, and it was a way for me to kind of explore and be creative and still dabble in technology, as well as meet people and make new friends through the channel. So yeah, it's been fun. I've really actually enjoyed it a lot.
It's called Carefree Chris.
Thanks, man.
And it's a brand new channel. We'll put a link to it in there.
Yep.
And he does a lot of travel motor vlogs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And kind of shows his day-to-day life. He does live streams.
Yeah.
And he just dove into it with boots on.
Yep.
And you're doing it for many of the reasons that I started a channel, and that was to create memories.
Right.
And to have a video diary of your life.
Right.
And if something comes of it, great. But already you're experiencing the benefits of it
Yeah.
because you're making connections.
That's right.
And you're finding people that you wouldn't normally know.
Yeah.
And you get input and feedback from people that do watch the channel. And that is priceless, man.
It is.
I've made so many awesome friends just off the little channel that I've got, and you're doing the same thing
Yeah.
with yours.
been
And then
great.
it's just going to keep expanding.
Love it.
So
Love it. Yeah, it's been a great hobby. I'm really enjoying it. Yeah, and just the idea of touring around the Philippines on my motorcycle, blogging that, it's really exciting to me.
Cool.
Yeah.
So you're thinking about making Dumaguete your home for
Yeah.
about a year.
Yeah,
All right,
exactly.
can you give us a kind of a summary of the difference between Cebu,
Yeah.
which I think we explored? It's a good soft landing.
Yeah, yeah.
Because you can get an Airbnb in a condo.
That's right.
Close to Ayala Mall.
That's right.
And Ayala Mall is going to offer you all the things that you need to kind of get set up. You
Yep.
can get a phone there. You can talk to other expats. You
right.
can find out what's going on. You're
right.
not going to be lost in the province somewhere looking for a place to eat. You can pick up a hamburger. That's
right.
And so for the first 30 days, I think it makes an easy transition.
Absolutely.
Because, there's a
be
big
hard.
enough culture shock as it is, just trying to figure out the currency and the language and the nuances and the traffic and all that hoopla. But now you've done all that,
Yeah.
and you've come out to Dumaguete. So
Right.
what is your impression of Dumaguete?
Yeah, I really love it. I like the small town vibe. I like the nature of this, like the scene we're at right now. In the couple days that I've been here, I've been up the road a little bit and seen some beautiful waterfalls, and I'm really excited about that. I like how you kind of it doesn't take you long to get out of the city, 10 minutes or so, and then you're really into some of these pristine areas. I like it. And I've been to some of the, I've been to the Ground Zero and Why Not and a couple of the eateries, and you can still get that foreigner experience and that kind of thing if you want it. So, and everyone's just been super friendly. Yeah, I actually really like it, and I'm excited to be here. I'm excited, really am. And getting into the gym and working out. I've scouted out a couple gyms here, so I really feel like I have everything I need.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so Guys coming out here, well, I'll just let that go.
Yeah.
Let's touch back a little bit about the girl situation there. This is not a place to come and meet girls.
I can see that.
But yet it is. And so there is an opportunity once you're out here that it took me 2 years before I bumped into Liz now my wife. But the whole key to that was I just really slowed down and I kind of let nature take its course.
Yep.
And I think that's that for me, that was the key.
Yep.
Fools rush in where angels fear to tread, man. And so it's always slow down, take your time, relax, smell the roses. Tomorrow's going to be here. Nothing's going to change. You're always going to be able to rethink it tomorrow if today was a failure.
Yeah, I think that's, Paul, I think that's great advice no matter where you land. Definitely here in Dumaguete, but I also think in Cebu, guys, just take your time. You know, and I know where we come from, right? We come from a complete space of scarcity, but trust me, it's here. Just, you know, be a good guy, take your time, and you know, you'll find yourself there.
I have a hypothetical. What if you didn't come out here and you stayed in America? What would your life be like?
Oof. I hate to think. No, really. I mean, I can't imagine going back now. I'm just so at peace here now and relaxed and chill. You know, there's still a long way for me to go in that area too, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, just, you know, my life now is I get up and, you know, whatever. What do I want to do today? Go work out, go for a run, go walk down by the beach, you know, go hang out with my girlfriend who's 30 and beautiful. I mean, come on, man. My life is amazing. My existence in the United States was work, you know, 8-hour days minimum, you know, sometimes 10, and putting in 50 hours a week to afford my apartment, to then be single the whole time. It's just like, no thanks, man. I would hate to go back. I'm sorry. You know, I mean, but yeah.
No,
and not
we
that
love our country.
Absolutely. But I feel
Still
guilty,
the greatest
right?
country on the
Right,
planet,
right.
in my humble opinion.
Yeah.
But it's like a dysfunctional family. It's
Right.
got, you know, the crazy grandpa, and it's got the weird uncle that comes over on Thanksgiving.
Right.
And then all the kids are kind of being like misfits. And so that's sort of what you're feeling and smelling and touching and tasting over there.
You know, it really does, Paul. I think it saddens me a little bit that I feel like as an American, I got to leave my country to have a great, happy life. You know what I mean, brother?
It does. It saddens me, man.
Yeah.
That, you know, if you go home, you're almost like, oh, I got to go home.
Right.
You know, instead of, hey, I'm going to go home for a while. I'm going to go visit for a few weeks. I'm going to go see my family. I'm going to go visit the kids. That's all still there. But in the meantime, what happens in the middle? You know, so you were feeling like under the gun no matter where you went. You had to really walk on eggshells. You had to say the right thing.
For sure.
And you couldn't look at anybody in a weird way.
It's
just going to be like, you're not even comfortable in your own skin.
No, with the race and the gender and the political stuff. And it's only getting worse. It seems like every year it just grows bigger and bigger and bigger. You know? Yeah, so it's so nice to be here, completely removed from that. It's really interesting. I almost feel more American here than I did back home, you know, being around other guys and that kind of deal, no matter what race. You know, it's really great.
Yeah,
you know?
There's a lot bigger level of acceptance here, I think.
Yeah,
just amongst everybody.
We're American, you know.
The expats get together, they hang out with you know, guys from Australia, all that kind of stuff. Americans tend to gravitate towards other Americans just because of the history and the commonality.
Sure.
And I find that with the Australians and any other group.
Sure.
It's just normal. It's natural. It's not like rejecting the other.
No.
And then the culture here, the Filipino culture here, it's pretty easy to slide in and get into the groove with them.
Especially as a Westerner. I mean, they already respect and admire us for the history there. And our culture is just so big here. You know, I didn't realize this, but after talking with Jo, she was telling me, Chris, you realize all of our textbooks, except our history book, is in English. You know, it's just, everyone is fluent here. You know, they're really taught that in school. It's so easy in that regard to communicate.
Yeah. All right, so again, I think that we'll wrap it up, but Cebu is where we're thinking that is the best place, and I have to concur with Chris, to be honest with you.
It's a great start.
I know I came through Cebu for 24 hours and had a whirlwind experience there and got on the bus and came to Dumaguete, and then I kind of flailed around for a number of months before I figured it out. But I think for a guy coming over for the first time, if you kind of follow Chris's lead here, which was or is to just get an Airbnb, be aware of its location near Ayala Mall is good. Whereas opposed to out in Lapu or something like that can get a little funky.
Completely agree.
So that's location, location, location. And then you're close to other foreigners, which you may think right now, oh, I don't want to be around a bunch of other dudes like me.
It's helpful.
Yeah, it actually can be very helpful.
Yeah.
And you're not here, you're not landing in cement when you get off the plane. You're not going to stay here forever.
That's right.
So I'm going to go with Chris that I think Cebu for at least 30 days, 60 days is the proverbial soft landing. Get yourself organized, get your phone, transfer money a couple of times.
That's right.
Figure out, how the money works, the currency works. Always have your guard up when it comes to the opposite sex.
That's right.
Because they might end up being the same sex and you don't know it.
Check the bone structure.
Well, the lady's really happy to see me. All right, we'll leave it at that on a low note. See you next time.
See you. Thanks, Paul.